the Caucasian was created or made via a process of genetic engineering.
That's right.
This is the history that we have been, yes, it's true, yes, it's true. Huh?
Older group.
What's an older group?
Yeah, it's an older group.
The Caucasian?
Yes.
No, sir. No. Okay, let's deal with it. Yes, I will. Thank you very much. Let's deal with this. See, because look, I know you're a wise man, and so you must understand that I'm a baby in wisdom, but I'm not a fool. And he's saying here today that the Caucasian is in fact the oldest group on the planet. I beg to differ. Look, one of the most famous anthropologists is Professor Leakey. And when Professor Leakey went in search of the origin of human beings and human species, he didn't stop very long in Europe. He went to Africa. And the oldest bones and the oldest human beings to this day that you call Zinjanthropus, using the Latin meaning Zin and Xanthropus, meaning a black man, that oldest man, they say, is millions of years old. You went back and found one even older than that. You called her Lucy, a black woman.
Go ahead.
And every sensible historian, anthropologist today agrees that the black man is the father of human beings. Even your geneticist, Mr. Mendel.
Go ahead, go ahead.
You have Mendel's law.
Go ahead.
Mendel says that light eyes are recessive. Light skin is recessive. You can take the recessive, the dark skin is dominant, the dark eyes are dominant. You can take the recessive from the dominant, but you can't get the dominant from the recessive. This is Mendel's law. And so all of your scientists have proved that you can't look. Black is not even a color.
That's right. Teach.
Black is the mother and father of all colors. Teach. That's why the scripture says, in the beginning was blackness. And if you want a baby, even if the woman is a white woman, the baby has to come out of the triple darkness of her womb. And this is the origin of all life. Within the black, you have the whole color spectrum. But in white, two white people laying down together, they can only produce white. But two black people in darkest Africa can lay down together and produce albino with blonde hair and blue eyes.
That's right. Teach, Muhammad.
This happens all the time. And so we need to really get these facts correct today and understand that as gray as your hair is, you are listening to your father today.
Teach, Muhammad.
This is daddy talking.
Teach.
And we mustn't turn. No, this is true. I'm not mocking. This is true.
There's no doubt in people with higher melanin, natural higher melanin, that it's far more likely that that melanin will be coating the nucleus, the cell wall of the nucleus of the DNA. Now the point about that is that ultraviolet light, which is often used to splice DNA, is blocked by that melanin. It absorbs it. It doesn't allow it in to interfere with the DNA. And it could well be, and this is Nigel's thesis, that this was a blocker for them when they were trying to genetically alter the species. And therefore, when maybe just out of random mutation something like an albino came along, they discovered, wow, we can get straight in. Right. And it may well be that the paler skinned nation, people on the earth, maybe have that pale skin because of this genetic experimentation to make things easier for them to work on human DNA. And in fact, Professor Steve Jones argues that this thing about vitamin D being, pale skin being there to allow vitamin D to be absorbed and so on, all these theories about why pale skin happened in the first place, he believes it's not an adequate explanation. There is no real explanation or justification for the need for pale skin at all.
Yeah, because I think if
dark skin is always an advantage in every circumstance.
Racism is way deeper than skin color.
More than 6,000 years ago, the ancient Egyptians spoke about a race of men that they created. These hairy ape men were said to wreak havoc amongst the people of Egypt. So the Egyptians rounded them up and imprisoned them in the Caucasus Mountains, which they called Europa after their queen Euro, and Rope meaning contained or imprisoned. The story relates to that of Tutmosis, who was sent to the Caucasus Mountains to give them language and written knowledge. It should be noted that the Russians have a similar Exodus story in ancient text. These Europa men who terrorized indigenous peoples of the world eventually be portrayed as kings, seers, and holy men. Because of things like the Crusades, In the infamous burning of the Library of Alexandria, a lot of the world's history has been distorted to fit the narrative of the winners.
That the melanated people of the world are gods and royalty, and point out the truth to them that the Moors found us in the Caucasus Mountains in Russia and basically saved us from being feral cave rats. It's the truth.
Now look at this piece of tapestry here. This is found at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Now let's just analyze the first half of the title. It says, Wild Men and Moors. Now we already know who the wild men are. So that must mean the Moors in this tapestry must be the black figures. But wait a minute, I thought the Moors weren't black. Now just by analyzing this piece of tapestry here, we can see the wild men to the left. They are naked, they are hairy all over, they are pale, and they're charging the castle with sticks and stones and tree branches. And who is defending the castle? Who is in the castle? We can see the black figures. We can see within the castle the king, the queen, the princess. And we can see the knights with their bow and arrows. These must be the Moors, right? Because once again, let's read the title. Wild Men, we know who they are, and the Moors. So the "and" must be referring to the black figures in this castle. But something ain't adding up. Especially during this time period, and in conventional history and what's taught. Shouldn't black people be in Africa, living in huts during this time period? Yet we see here, they are actually the king and the queen and the knights, and they are defending their castle from pale figures, hairy all over, running around naked, uncivilized. Hey, I'm just making a statement. You guys can come to your own conclusion on this. But go look this up. Just type in Wild Men versus the Moors.
So the white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and just flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, it's a loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
From the Renaissance.
oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.